Anytime we study history, it is important to understand what we are examining within its historical context.
This is most certainly true when studying the rise and fall of patent medicines, as this historical context reveals the evolution of social, medical, cultural, and even political factors that surrounded this subject.
But, what exactly was a patent medicine?
The term patent medicine has roots in the historical practice of granting letters patent by the English crown. However, it's important to note that many of the patent medicines sold, particularly in the 18th and 19th centuries, were not actually patented in the modern legal sense. Instead, the makers of these medicines would hold the formulas as secret, and market them heavily with proprietary names. The term became associated with a wide range of over-the-counter remedies that were heavily marketed to the public, often with exaggerated claims. The peak of the popularity of these concoctions came in the latter half of the 19th century. To understand how they became so popular, we need to first understand the world of our ancestors in this time period. The latter half of the 19th century saw the beginning of the shift of population trends in America from a more rural to more urban environment. The Second Industrial Revolution, with its proliferation of factories and manufacturing, created a massive demand for urban labor. Part of these advancements came in the form of agricultural mechanization that reduced the need for farm labor, which also fostered the movement of people to cities. Patent medicines, for different reasons, would rise in popularity in both rural and urban America. Before exploring these reasons, it would be helpful to take a quick look at the evolution of medicine in the 19th century. Early 19th century medicine heavily relied on traditional practices known as heroic medicine, including bloodletting, purging, and the use of herbal remedies.
These aggressive treatments often did more harm than good. Medical knowledge was often based on empirical observations rather than scientific understanding. Medical education varied widely, with many practitioners learning through apprenticeships rather than formal schooling. Formal schools, where they did exist, had widely varying standards and curricula where students learned by attending classes without ever seeing patients.
In the home, it was women who were at the center of medical knowledge. The prevailing cult of domesticity in the 19th century assigned women the responsibility for maintaining the moral and physical health of their families. Not only was access to trained physicians in rural areas limited, oftentimes even if a physician lived nearby, medical care was too expensive to seek in all but the most serious instances. Medical knowledge was often passed down through generations of women via oral traditions, handwritten recipe books, and published domestic manuals, including some cookbooks. These sources contained information on herbal remedies, dietary practices, hygiene, and childcare. In many areas, there would be one or more women with more than the average amount of this type of medical knowledge, and they could be relied upon in times of need. One of these women was the widow of Josiah Jackson Childers, Sarah Hampton Childers. When her husband died at the age of 41, Sarah was left with 5 young children to raise. According to the account of Sarah's life shared by her great-granddaughter, Wilma Kofer, Sarah managed to eke out a living farming on the 81-acre homestead on Stouts Creek, which had always been hers. Sarah was also known in the area as a granny lady, who helped people using herbs, spices, and other natural products. It was even said she could cure a poisonous snake bite with a live chicken. She was so much in demand as there were no doctors easily available, much less the money to pay for one.
Even going back to my own youth, I remember my own grandmothers who would point out different plants to me and tell me what they could be used in treating an illness or as food. The world's wealth of medical knowledge was transformed by the American Civil War from 1861 through 1865. Somewhere between 620,000 to 750,000 soldiers died in the war, and of that number, well over half of those deaths were from disease. While the battles themselves were horrifically bloody, the unsanitary conditions of camp life and the limited medical knowledge of the time led to widespread disease that took a devastating toll on both Union and Confederate forces. In the North, the United States Sanitary Commission was created to deal with unhealthy camp conditions and to fill the gap in medical knowledge. The USSC was a private relief agency that successfully lobbied for changes to the Medical Bureau to improve conditions for Union soldiers both in sickness and in health. Exposing the limitations of existing medical practices spurred innovations in surgery, anesthesia, antiseptic techniques, and sanitation. As the war progressed, the number of soldiers dying from disease was reduced. In the years after the war, medical schools began to adopt more rigorous standards and incorporate scientific curricula. The development of laboratory medicine and the emphasis on clinical observation contributed to the advancement of medical knowledge. All of this led to advances in bacteriology, pathology, and physiology led to a deeper understanding of disease processes. By the late 19th century, miasma theory, which originated with the ancient Greeks and believed that inhaling bad air caused disease, was replaced by germ theory that showed that specific microorganisms, not bad air, caused diseases. Still, even with these advancements, medical knowledge at this time in history was still closer to the ancient Greeks than to what it is today. With practical medical knowledge remaining limited, many common ailments, such as cholera, typhoid, and tuberculosis, remained poorly understood and often fatal. Furthermore, the rise of urbanization and industrialization brought about new anxieties related to sanitation, pollution, and the stresses of modern life. These stresses of modern life included the pressure of new work demands, the disruption of traditional family structures, and the challenges of adjusting to new technologies like the telephone and telegraph. These stresses contributed to the environment of medical uncertainty and helped create the fertile ground for the appeal of patent medicines. These concoctions, promising cures for a myriad of ailments, permeated every facet of American life, from rural homesteads to bustling urban centers. With many either distrusting the medical profession or unable to afford medical care, the world of patent medicines filled a void for those seeking alternative remedies, particularly those promising quick and easy relief.
Patent medicines, marketed as convenient and accessible solutions, filled this void.
They offered the illusion of control in a world where disease seemed capricious and unpredictable. The success of patent medicines was not solely due to medical need, it was also a testament to the power of effective marketing. Advertisers employed a variety of strategies to capture the public's imagination. One of these strategies was the use of testimonials and endorsements. Fictional or fabricated testimonials from satisfied customers were a staple of patent medicine advertising. These narratives, often presented as personal stories of miraculous cures, resonated with a public eager for hope. Celebrity endorsements, while not as prevalent as today, from supposed doctors or public figures, added an air of legitimacy to these products. Advertisements also often used emotional appeals that preyed on anxieties related to health, aging, and social status.
They promised not only physical cures but also enhanced vitality, beauty, and social acceptance. Patent medicine manufacturers were pioneers in modern advertising.
They utilized various media, including newspapers, magazines, almanacs, and trade cards, to reach a broad audience. The widespread use of colorful trade cards, and the widespread distribution of almanacs, allowed for a very broad distribution of their ads. The absence of stringent advertising regulations allowed manufacturers to make exaggerated and often false claims about the efficacy of their products. Advertisements frequently touted patent medicines as cure-alls, capable of treating a multitude of conditions. It was this lack of oversight that contributed to the widespread dissemination of misleading information. It wasn't just that the advertisements for these so-called medicines were misleading, in many cases, they were downright dangerous. The lack of their regulation, including no requirement for manufacturers to list their ingredients, allowed manufacturers to include any number of dangerous ingredients in their products. Among these were opiates such as opium, morphine, and heroin. Alcohol was also used sometimes, not only as a preservative but as a base for patent medicines, contributing to their perceived effectiveness and creating a sense of euphoria. Heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and arsenic were sometimes included in patent medicines, posing serious health risks of their own. All in all, the ingredients used in patent medicines were included to make the person feel better, not to treat the condition the particular patent medicine was supposed to cure or treat. By the 1890s, America was ready for change. This was the dawn of the Progressive Era. The Progressive Era in the United States, roughly spanning the 1890s to the 1920s, was a period of widespread social activism and political reform aimed at addressing the significant problems caused by rapid industrialization, urbanization, and political corruption during the Gilded Age. Progressives sought to improve society by enacting reforms across a broad range of fronts, including economic, political, and social reforms, as well as conservation measures aimed at protecting natural resources and the environment. The movement was spearheaded by progressive politicians, social reformers, as well as muckraking writers and journalists. One of these muckraking journalists was Samuel H. Adams, who played a crucial role in exposing the fraudulent practices of the patent medicine industry in the early 20th century. His work had a significant impact on public awareness and ultimately contributed to the passage of landmark legislation. Between 1905 and 1906, Adams published a series of 11 articles in Collier's Weekly titled The Great American Fraud. These articles meticulously detailed the deceptive and often harmful practices of patent medicine manufacturers. Adams revealed that many patent medicines made outrageous and unsubstantiated claims about their effectiveness. These products were often marketed as cure-alls for a wide range of ailments, from minor discomforts to serious diseases. Adams' investigation uncovered that many patent medicines contained dangerous or addictive substances, such as those previously described, like high concentrations of alcohol, opiates, and heavy metals. His research highlighted how patent medicine companies often targeted vulnerable populations, such as the chronically ill, who were desperate for relief and susceptible to false promises.
Adams' articles caused a sensation and sparked public outrage about the patent medicine industry.
His clear and compelling writing brought the issue to the forefront of national attention. The public outcry generated by Adams' exposé, along with the work of other reformers, played a key role in creating the momentum for the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act in 1906. This landmark legislation was one of the first federal laws to regulate the labeling and ingredients of food and drugs. The Pure Food and Drug Act mandated the accurate labeling of ingredients, preventing manufacturers from concealing harmful substances. That same legislation prohibited false and misleading claims about these products. Almost immediately, you saw the word cure being replaced with the word remedy. In almost all cases, this legislation sounded the death knell for the era of patent medicines. Before leaving that era, I thought it might be worthwhile to tell at least a couple of the stories related to the patent medicine industry. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of stories from which to choose, but we will concentrate on three of the more well-known manufacturers and their products: Lydia Pinkham and her vegetable compound, Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup, and Dr. Kilmer and his various cure-alls.
Lydia Pinkham is worthy of a program unto herself.
Her name remains synonymous with 19th-century patent medicine, a testament to her remarkable success in building a brand empire centered on her vegetable compound. Lydia Estes Pinkham, a resourceful New England housewife, began producing her herbal remedy in the 1870s, initially for her family and neighbors. The compound, a concoction of roots and herbs steeped in alcohol, was purported to alleviate female complaints. Pinkham's product addressed a real need among women who often suffered from poorly understood and inadequately treated gynecological issues. Mainstream medical practices of the time offered limited relief, creating a void that Pinkham's remedy filled.
The Pinkham family, particularly Lydia's sons, recognized the power of advertising.
They used newspapers, pamphlets, and even direct mail to reach their target audience. Lydia's image, that of a kindly, matronly figure, became the face of the brand, fostering trust and relatability. Lydia Pinkham died in 1883, but by the late 19th century, Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound had become a household name.
The company's advertising budget soared, and its products were distributed nationwide.
After the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act, Pinkham's was forced to revise its advertising and acknowledge the high alcohol content of its compound. This, coupled with women more often seeking treatment from trained physicians, diminished the appeal of patent medicines including Pinkham's.
Our second example is Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup.
This product was a popular patent medicine of the late 19th and early 20th centuries and was marketed to mothers of teething babies. This seemingly innocuous concoction contained morphine, a potent narcotic, and became a symbol of the era's widespread reliance on potentially lethal cures. Advertisements for the product emphasized the emotional distress of both the infant and the mother, portraying the syrup as a compassionate solution. Like other patent medicines, Mrs. Winslow's featured testimonials from seemingly satisfied mothers, lending an air of legitimacy to the product, and was widely advertised in newspapers, magazines, and on trading cards. The image of a caring, grandmotherly figure, Mrs. Winslow, reinforced the perception of a safe and reliable product. However, this image was a carefully constructed facade, masking the dangerous reality of the syrup's composition. The inclusion of an opiate reduced pain and induced drowsiness, providing temporary relief from teething discomfort. However, the effects were achieved at a significant cost, including addiction through the regular use of the product. Morphine-induced respiratory depression, particularly in infants, leading to slowed breathing and even death, as well as the risk of overdose. Use of the product declined significantly after the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act and its requirement that all patent medicines disclose their list of ingredients.
Our final example are the multiple cures offered by Dr. S. A. Kilmer.
Dr. Kilmer, despite lacking formal medical training, established a lucrative business in Binghamton, New York, based on his line of patent medicines. His most famous product, swamproot, was purported to cure kidney and bladder ailments and became a household name. Besides his swamproot cure, his products included an oceanweed heart remedy, female remedy, an Indian cough and consumption cure. Like other patent medicine companies, Dr. Kilmer's success relied on a relentless marketing strategy that included ubiquitous advertising across newspapers, magazines, and in almanacs. These ads appealed to the medical anxieties of its prospective users and used powerful testimonies to generate trust in his products. Eventually, Dr. Kilmer's brother Jonas and Jonas's son Willis took over the company. At one point, Willis was asked what swamproot was good for. He answered, "About $1 million a year." Like other patent medicine manufacturers, the Kilmer empire began to crumble with the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, though some of their remedies would remain on the market over the next 3 decades. Before closing this program, it is appropriate to compare the world of patent medicines at its height to the world we live in today. Be it through TV, social media, or other avenues, you are inundated with ads for prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, supplements, and even foods making medical claims. Who here doesn't remember actress Jamie Lee Curtis hawking Activia yogurt to women with its secret ingredient, Bifidus regularis, a strain of probiotic to help regulate women's digestive health? The Federal Trade Commission put an end to those advertisements, and Dannon, the yogurt's producer, had to pay a fine. Of course, today, drug manufacturers must list all the potential side effects of their drugs, some of them scarier than the conditions they purport to treat. Unlike prescription drugs and over-the-counter medicines, the Food and Drug Administration doesn't exert approval authority of the producers of supplements, so their claims can stretch the limits of believability. From brain health to weight loss to baldness, there's a pill out there just waiting to be tried. Still, today producers of these supplements must list their ingredients, a throwback to the time of our ancestors and the rise and fall of patent medicines. We are fortunate today, as the last 100 years have been a period of remarkable medical progress, driven by scientific discovery, technological innovation, and a deeper understanding of the human body and disease. The advent of new drugs, coupled with advancements in surgery, vaccines, and diagnostics, has dramatically improved human health and longevity, and this progress continues into the 21st century with exciting new frontiers like gene therapy and personalized medicine.